Welcome back, truth seekers. Running a few minutes late, was having trouble getting the button to load so that I could start this. Anyhow, it is Thursday, December 13th, 2018. We're going to talk about what's circulating in the news today, and then at the end, we'll close with this day in history. Normally, we start with this day in history, but we'll save it for the end of the day, just do things a little bit different. So, first story somebody asked me to look into was out of Detroit this morning. A meteorologist, a woman who does the weather, Jessica Starr, died yesterday at age 35. And they're saying she committed suicide after having a struggle with LASIK eye surgery. What jumps out right away about this is the day she reportedly killed herself. A young woman. It was a date with a life lesson number at 35. And again, she's 35 years old, and what she did for a living was told people the weather, which has Gematria at 35. Her name, Jessica Starr, also has Gematria 43, like suicide, like killing, like RIP. And this news does come today, December 13th, 18, 12 plus 13 plus 18, 43 date numerology. She died yesterday, though, the date with 42 numerology. So the news just comes on a date with 43 numerology. But again, dead at 35 on the 35 date numerology. She did the weather for a living. Very suspicious. She leaves behind 2 children and her husband. I mean, mothers do commit suicide sometimes, but you got to think young, successful. I mean, very suspicious. So I couldn't find her birthday, so I couldn't do that measurement. But that might be the clinching detail. Another top headline this morning, U.S. gun deaths reach a 38-year peak. I said, wow, really? A 38-year peak, huh? As we know, death equals 38. So does murder, so does killing, so does RIP. CNN's headline, nearly 40 years. And this is for the U.S. Remember, U plus S is 21 plus 19, U.S. 40. When you write out United States with the alphabetic order and the rules of numerology, United States is 40. Again, the difference is instead of U counting as 21, you take the numerology of 21. 2 plus 1 is 3, so U is 3. And the 14th letter. 1 plus 4 becomes 5, so on. United States, U.S. 40. So reading through stats, lots of numbers here. Lots of numbers. They said in 2017, the age-adjusted rate of suicide deaths by firearm was highest among white men at 14 per 100,000. And again, we just said suicide equals 43. 43 is the 14th prime number. And the word dead itself is also 14, so that's interesting. Another stat that jumped out, the same year, the age-adjusted rate for homicide deaths by firearm was highest among black men at 33 per 100,000. And just think about how many stories of young black men being killed we've covered over the years in connection to the number 33. From Trayvon Martin to Michael Brown to so many more. That number 33 comes up again and again. So what are the odds? What are the odds that that's the number? And again, I maintain that when they report these stats, they're contriving it by the code. Again and again. I don't know if you heard today, but reportedly the police saved a middle school massacre. There was a teenager on his way to have a mass shooting, and the police intervened. They had a tip, and it ended up being a shootout with the teenager and the police near the school, and then the teen killed himself. Always, almost always, the shooter kills themselves in these stories. So today is December 13th, 2018, the day leaving 18 days left in the year. 18, the most special of the teenage years in terms of the way we look at adulthood. That's the year you technically become an adult. But the thing about 18 in this incident is active shooter and middle school both summed to 61, which is the 18th prime number. Plus today, December 13th, 2018, has 18 date numerology. With regards to the active shooter riddle, today also has the 43 numerology as we talked about. They said the shooter committed suicide 43. Active shooter also has the gematria of 191, which is the 43rd prime. So fitting date for these active shooter related headlines. We just talked about the 61 date numerology and the two shootings in Brazil and France earlier this week. There was a shooting at a church, church 61. There was a shooting at a Christmas market and Christmas both summed to 61. Now here we are 2 days later and another active shooter type story. Dennis middle school student dead after he shoots himself in Richardson, I believe it says. But again, here's that terminology of active shooter. Teen suspect dead after active shooter situation at Indiana Middle School. And notice the name of this middle school is David Worth Dennis Middle School. Show you what's familiar here. David Worth Dennis Middle School, 137, just like Indiana's 137. That's the 33rd prime number. Again and again, in the shootings, 33, police 33, federal 33, masonry 33, secrecy 33, order 33. And with regards to 137, government 137, authority 137, Washington, D.C. 137, no doubt these shootings by the numbers, a federal agenda. I noticed the police spokesperson, his name was John Bowling. And as soon as I saw that name, I just remembered how the Columbine shooters supposedly went bowling the morning before they went on their killing rampage. That's why Michael Moore's movie is called Bowling for Columbine. Colorado also has that gematria of 43, by the way, in light of today having 43 date numerology. Just outside of Indianapolis is this town, Richmond, IN, how you'd write the town name on an envelope, 107 like shooting. And again, the number we see all the time with shootings is 44. Shooting also 44, alphabetical order and rules of numerology, officer 44. Teen is 44, just using the alphabetic order like kill. So based on the reporting, those were the things that jumped out to me. The shooter was also 14 years old on this date with 43 numerology. Again, 43, the 14th prime. The top headline this morning was Maria Butina admits to conspiracy against the U.S. Again, this is the Russian spy. We just covered her earlier this week. The story progressing. She just turned 30 years old. Notice she's born in 88. You know, the big Trump number. From her birthday to today is 33 days later. Notice it's also 1 month and 3 days, like how we're on the 13th of December. Her full name has this gematria of 333 to go with the 33 days later. Her full name in the base ciphers also has this gematria of 90. 90 and 16, the only two numbers when written out that sum to 33. And again, 33 days after her birthday. Her full name also in the base cipher has gematria of 135, like Central Intelligence Agency. Remember how CIA is 13, and earlier this year we covered the nomination of Gina Cherry Haspel on May 13th, 13/5, like 135. Her full name equals 135, like the CIA's full name. What a perfect day for the nomination. And then she was confirmed on May 17th, the 137th day of the year, government 137, authority 137, Washington, D.C. 137. And that was 137 days from her own birthday. You know, her name also has that gematria of 47. Number we see all the time. 47 and 52, like government, authority, president, White House. So here it was, 137 days from her own birthday. The CIA, a mind control agency, that's what they're after, the mind control, the mass mind control of the public. They used to run MK Ultra, mind control 137, MK Ultra 33. Again, the rituals, the same repetitive numbers, day after day after day. And I thought I'd also look from Putin's birthday, since this is Russia and the United States, a nonstop narrative in the time of the Trump presidency. From Putin's birthday to today is his 68th day of his age. CIA, when you flip the alphabetic order, around 68. Talk a lot about 68 with the Bush family. HW used to be the head of the CIA before vice president and president. Of course, Donald John Trump's also 68, so is the apprentice. Notice that today's Trump's 183rd day of his age, the order out of chaos number. So, what do you know? New day, new story, same numbers. Also today, Melania Trump's poll numbers reach an all-time low. And I thought, I wonder how many days it is from Melania's birthday. So if you read the article, her poll numbers have plummeted to 43%. An all-time low. And then 36% of those people found her unfavorable. Today has 43 numerology and 36 date numerology. 12 plus 13 is 25, plus 2 plus 0 plus 1 plus 8, 36. And then 12 plus 13 plus 18, 43. And don't forget the letters DC. D is the fourth letter, C is the third. So we get this news about her polling numbers on this date. It says her all-time high was 57% in May. First Lady has the Gematria of 57. So does Scottish Rite of Freemasonry. But from Melania's birthday to this news, look how perfect it is. From her birthday to today is 33 weeks later. How about that? How about that? It's also 231 days. That's the 21st triangular number. The word woman has Gematria of 21. She's 48 years old right now. Freemason 48, Masonry 33, Donald Trump 44. The Trump family name, before they changed their name to Trump, was Drumpf, which equals 33 as well. In regards to this 33 weeks after her 48th birthday. Also, something you should know is Melania Trump in the base ciphers has Gematria of 181. That's the 42nd prime. First Lady, 42. Lady, 42. Good name for First Lady. My take on this is I just think I think her and Trump's marriage is this thing that's all part of his scripted presidency. You know, she's from Eastern Europe, what used to be the USSR, you know, nonstop Trump and Russia headlines. I mean, just look at it all right here. So to me, the riddles are pretty transparent. And then what's turned into the top story, this emerged last night. This headline emerged yesterday, December 12th. Big today. The National Enquirer has admitted that they paid Karen McDougal hush money so that she wouldn't influence the election, meaning the National Enquirer run by David Pecker. Think about that. Anthony Weiner, David Pecker, sexual related stories, mass mocking. Anyway, David Pecker, the National Enquirer, paid Karen McDougal hush money so the story wouldn't come out because they wanted Trump to be the president. The tabloid magazine, you know. So, numbers to know. National Enquirer equals 85, like Donald John Trump 85. 85 is the reflection of 58. Donald Trump won the 58th U.S. presidential election. Again, he announced he was running from the 58-story Trump Tower. He hired the 58-year-old Steve Ray for Inauguration Day. The name Pecker, the guy who runs the National Enquirer, his name equals 58. How perfect. Also in the base ciphers, National Enquirer is 193, the 44th prime. Trump is number 45, but he's only the 44th person to be president. Again, the count's been screwed up for many years because of Grover Cleveland, who had a split term. He was president, then Harrison was president, then it was Cleveland again. National Enquirer also sums to 239. That's the 52nd prime. President, government, White House, authority, they all have Gematria 52. This word up here, big deal. National Enquirer deal is a big problem for Trump. That part's not so important. But I want to go back in time. I've covered a lot of Karen McDougal posts by the numbers over the years this has been going on. The last one before this latest story was it came out that Cohen had recorded Trump discussing payment to former Playboy model, who was Karen McDougal. And yesterday, Cohen went to prison by the numbers, right? So this story, in case you forget, it was from July 20th, and we talked about how that day, by the way, okay, let's just go over this piece by piece. Today, where this is a big deal in the news, today has 36 date numerology, December 13th. When this news first came out July 20th, that led up to today's news, it was 36 days after Trump's birthday. And remember, Michael Cohen just went to prison, or he hasn't gone yet, but sentenced to prison for 3 years, which is 36 months, and he begins on March 6th, 3-6. The number 666 is the 36th triangular number. The letters X, X, X break down to 666. X is the 24th letter. The numerology of 24 is 2 plus 4 is 6. Playboy's an XXX publication. So anyhow, the last time this happened, or this story was in the news, July 20th, it came after Karen McDougal's 47th birthday, our oh so special number, and it came 119 days after her 47th birthday. Both numbers that relate to the name Trump and Donald. But notice Playboy's 119. She was a Playboy playmate. Playmate 119. We have Donald Trump, who was announced as the 45th president-elect on 11/9, November 9th, the anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall. Again, the same man who made this commercial, dressed in the same suit and tie from 2009, talking to sheep number 9. With sheep number 11 in the background, standing on pillars. What's that remind you of? His closing words from Trump are, looking good, number 9, looking good. When you add 1 through 9, it equals 45, like how Berlin Wall equals 45, like how all of this stuff is riddles and numbers and scripts in the calendar year. Also in Jewish Gematria, Donald equals 119, making November 9th a fitting day for him to be announced as the 45th president-elect. July 20th, 18, when this story emerged, 119 days after McDougal's birthday, was also a date with 45 numerology. And you know what else I noticed about this date now? 7 plus 20 is 27, right? Plus 2 plus 0 plus 1 plus 8 is 11 more. So it was a date with a life lesson number of 38. Election equals 38. I'm going to show you how that number factors into today's news, where this story is front and center. Before we get to the 38 piece, this news broke yesterday, December 12th, 18, a date with 42 numerology. From Trump's birthday to the news was 181 days, which is the 42nd prime number. Again, Melania Trump equals 181, Playmates 42, First Ladies 42, Ladies 42, like we covered a moment ago. Trump and Melania have been together since 2005, and this affair happened in 2006, 2007. So it happened during the time of his marriage to Melania, if they're even really married. And so anyway, obviously she's related, right? So we're still coming up on the 38 piece, but from the July 20th news of the tape, the Michael Cohen recording, to today, where this news is front and center, started last night, it's carrying into today, it'll probably carry into days forward. It's a span of 147 days. And the story is how there was a hush payment by the National Enquirer so that this story wouldn't influence the election in favor of Hillary. David Pecker wanted Trump to win the 58th US presidential election, right? Pecker 58. But 147 days, hush payment 147, US president 147, president of the United States 147. We've been talking a lot about this number with the death of H.W. Bush and his son George W. Again, Prescott Bush, who was a senator, died on his 147th day of his age. His son and his grandson went on to be president. When H.W. just died, it was 147 days after W.'s birthday. We've been talking about these things in great detail. So familiar numbers. Freemasons 147, conspiracies 147. There's 147 windows on the White House. From McDougal's birthday to today, December 13th, again, where this story's front center is also 38 weeks, and elections 38, like how the tape came out on a date with 38 numerology, July 20th, 2018. All right, so other stories in the news today. Bomb threats emailed to multiple locations across the country. So we've seen a lot of this year. Talked about it in a big way on October 24th. Talked about it in Austin earlier this year. Last week, there was a follow-up bomb scare at CNN. They said this happened all over the nation. They focused on San Francisco and the University of Washington in Seattle. Both San Francisco and Seattle are on the 122nd meridian. Notice Penn State is also mentioned here. What am I always saying about the Bay Area and Pennsylvania, especially Philadelphia? How there's these connections between those cities. And the Liberty Bell was once, which is in Philadelphia, was once kept in the Bay Area. Liberty Bell has this gematria of 122. San Francisco has this gematria of 122. San Francisco, Seattle on the 122nd meridian. Freemason with the alphabetic order is 96. When you take into account the Francis Bacon cipher where capital letters matter, Freemason's 122. Again, the riddles always point one direction. So I think that's why they mention these three locations and then go on to say later in the article, plus a whole lot of other places all across the country. And with regards to today's date, 63 numerology, the majority of the places listed are universities. And think about the Unabomber, right? Who used to be a college professor. All of these riddles seem to be tied in with the Unabomber. Today's date has the 63 numerology. University equals 63. Bomb equals 63. Freemasonic equals 63. Today's date also has the 36 numerology. Threat 36. They're bomb threats across the nation, targeting universities and other places. From the big story, the biggest story this year of the bomb scares across the nation, October 24th to today is 50 days later. And in light of this being all across the nation, America is 50. It's also 1 month and 19 days, the all-seeing eye number. News meant to capture the mind's eye of the masses. But you can just see all these places, Chicago, New York, Atlanta, all over. But they started with San Francisco, Seattle, and Penn State. Why did they lead off with those? Again, I think it had to do with that tribute to the 122 number. And perhaps there's something bigger with that I haven't yet grasped. This news just broke before I jumped on the air. So I just wanted to get this up here. But only had about 5 minutes to look at it. You might have caught this story last night. This broke when I was doing my radio show on TFR. He survived the Holocaust only to be struck and killed by a car in Oregon. Alter Wiener. If you listened to my radio show last night, I mentioned how one of the headlines was a temple-ready altar was built in Jerusalem in anticipation of the third temple. And then right after that, Alter Wiener, Holocaust survivor. You know, the Holocaust, what created the mass migration to Israel for many European Jews. So this happened in Hillsboro, Oregon, which is just outside of Portland, Oregon. It's kind of become the tech center. Intel and some other tech companies are there in Hillsboro. And I know a bit about this city because I'm from Portland. But what jumped out right away about his last name is Wiener has a lot of overlap with Oregon and Jewish. You see, perfect with the alphabetic order, the reverse alphabetic order. Wiener, 38, Oregon, 38. The word Jew is also 38. Jewish, when you use the rule on S, becomes 38. Wiener, Jewish, also overlap. So that seemed interesting. And then his name, Alter Wiener, sums to 58, like Jerusalem. And speaking of how the third temple was, or the altar was just built for the third temple 58, same cipher that Alter Wiener is. Solomon's temple, the first temple destroyed, 58. Herod's temple, 58. Again, Tisha B'Av falls on August 11th, 2019, a date with 58 numerology. 58 days after Trump's birthday, and Trump's face is on the side of a coin right now. That is to raise money to build the third temple. Trump, the winner of the 58th U.S. presidential election, who visited the site of the third temple by the numbers on Jerusalem Day, May 22nd, 2017, before traveling to the Vatican. So I thought this was very interesting. As for him being 92 years old, as for him being 92, that's one of the numbers that connects to the synagogue of Satan. So, and don't forget that August 11th is the 223rd day of the year. Just like how Trump visited on May 22nd, the day leaving 223 days left in the year. What are the odds? Also relevant, Oregon's the 33rd state. Holocaust with the reduction cipher, where Alter Wiener equals 58, Holocaust sums to 33. If you use the rule for S, Holocaust is 42, like how the Holocaust began in 42, World Wars 42, Wars 42, Zionism's 42. So Oregon, the 33rd state. OR, the abbreviation for Oregon, is 15 plus 18, 33. Portland, Oregon, Portland, comma, OR, that is, like I write it on the envelopes, 137, the 33rd prime. And this news came yesterday, 12, 12, 18, 12 plus 12 plus 18 is 42. So 42 date numerology. Holocaust began in 42. Holocaust survivor killed in Oregon by a car. Seems suspicious to me, especially in light of it coming right after this news. This was from December 10th, the last day of Hanukkah. Temple-ready altar dedicated on last day of Hanukkah by activist groups. A new altar fit for the temple was dedicated outside the walls of the old city of Jerusalem. So they did this on the last day of Hanukkah, a date. I don't know why I wrote 10/22, 2018. I must have been working too fast, but 12/10 is the same numbers. So 12/10, 2018, it would have been 12 plus 10, which is 22, plus 11 more is 33. I don't know why I wrote October 22nd in days. Sometimes I'm working really fast, but 12/10, 2018 was a date with 33 numerology. Hanukkah equals 141. Like when you write out 33, it equals 141. And remember what we've been saying about this number. From the day that Trump visited the site where they plan to build the temple, May 22nd, 2017, to August 11th, 2018, August 11th, a date that can be written 8/11, like 811. From the day Trump visited, May 22nd, to August 11th, I just said 2018, didn't I? I meant 2019. from May 22nd, 2017 to August 11th, 2019. That's 811 days later. 811, like August 11th can be written 8/11. 811 is the 141st prime number. And remember, San Francisco, California equals 141. That's the site of the Golden Gate Bridge, where the prophecy is that at the time of the third temple, the Jewish Messiah will arrive through the Golden Gate. And the mayor of San Francisco is London Breed, who will turn 45 years old August 11th, 2019. She's the 45th mayor of San Francisco. And Golden Gate in our two reduction-based ciphers is 45, like how Trump is number 45, and how like this is a Bible prophecy and Holy Bible is 45 forwards and backwards as well. Trumpets, those are the warnings in Revelation, the trumpets, which sounds like trumpets, you know? They bring down the wall. So here's 811, the 141st prime. Here, I'll just take a moment to read this. Then I shall finish by singing a song of praise for the dedication of the altar. Goes the famous Mazur Hanukkah song. And on Monday morning, the last day of Hanukkah, a new altar fit for the temple was dedicated outside the walls of the old city of Jerusalem. Following the Maccabees' defeat of the Greeks in the historical events of Hanukkah, the Maccabean Jews cleansed and restored the temple after Jerusalem was liberated and built a new altar, since pigs had been slaughtered on the old altar by the Greeks, which obviously would have been a desecration to the Jews, unclean animal. On the last day of Hanukkah, which literally means dedication, a new altar built in accordance with all the Jewish laws pertaining to the temple vessels and infrastructure was unveiled and nominally dedicated for use in the yet-to-be-built third temple by several temple activist organizations. The initiative came from Professor Hillel Weiss, a hard-right political activist and temple activist, who established a nonprofit organization called the Temple in Zion, and raised some NIS 40,000 for the building of the altar. The project was also backed by the Committee of Temple Organizations, an umbrella group for temple activist groups. The altar is built out of bricks over a wooden frame, and specifically not of stone, since Jewish law requires that the temple and its various structures not be made out of stone that has been hewn by iron implements. The altar itself weighs some 4.5 tons, and the ramp another 2 tons. Think about 4.5 tons, 4.5, 45, Holy Bible. It was built in the Elkanah settlement in the Western Samaria district by carpenters, bricklayers, and other construction specialists. Organizers intended that a sheep was to be slaughtered during the dedication ceremony, and the various rituals, including burning some of its limbs and innards on the altar, was to be performed. However, Weiss said objections were raised by the Jerusalem Municipal Authority's legal department. Instead, a sheep was slaughtered earlier this week in an abattoir, and just one of its front legs was burned on the altar in a practice sacrificial exercise. Although the Passover and daily sacrifices do not require a full temple, they must be done on an altar built according to the requirements of Jewish law and placed at the appropriate spot on the Temple Mount, believed to be several meters east of the Islamic Dome of the Rock Shrine. So again, a lot of people have gotten mad at me for suggesting that it would be anywhere near the Islamic Dome of the Rock. And I don't disagree that, the Dome of the Rock's probably not the real site of the first 2 temples. But the point is, if you pay attention to everything that's being stated, they intend to build this temple very close to the Dome of the Rock. Several meters, that means it's not that far away, So, and you do have, Zionist extremists advocating for the destruction of the temple or the Dome of the Rock at the site of Temple Mount. That's why they call it Temple Mount, because that's where the temple's to be placed, according to many of them. From the date this happened to the upcoming date of August 11th, 2019 is 35 weeks. Satan 35, Baphomet 35. We talked about this before. Synagogue of Satan 35, Catholic 35. The Catholics have a lot to do with the current belief of where the site of the third temple belongs. So, important story there. Switching gears, there was another one in the headlines. Fentanyl overdoses up by 113%. This was December 12th, 2018 news. If you've read my book, we've well covered how many suspicious overdose deaths in history are connected to the number 113. Fentanyl deaths up 113%, what's reported. Overdose, 113. We keep seeing fentanyl news by the numbers, from Prince to Tom Petty to Mac Miller. There's been others too. Also, somebody called in last night, and Miss Universe's first transgender contestant reveals and being role model. So it's interesting that they're reporting it this way. The brilliant caller from New York, who might phone in today, he might not. I'm not sure what he's up to. He did some research on this and found out that this actually isn't the first transgender Miss Universe. The first was actually in 2012. So interesting how it's being reported this way. Let me see. I might still have up. Yeah. So this is actually the first transgender Miss Universe contestant. Her name was Jenna, sort of like gender, And honestly, I wouldn't have been able to tell that this was a man. So just a reminder that some of these transgender, it is really hard to tell. But the New York caller was pointing out that Donald Trump was still running Miss Universe when there was this transgender contestant. And she does look a lot like Trump's daughter, Ivanka. She does look very similar. I don't know if she's exactly the same, but very close. So anyway, you can look her up, Jenna Talikova. This was 2012. That said, they're reporting that this is the first transgender contestant, even though it's not quite true. She represents Spain. This is her. Him, her. However you want to phrase it. But what's interesting about her or him getting this recognition in the 66th year of the contest is the word woman, using the alphabetic order, is 66. Woman 66. And what we routinely see with the transgender stories is the connection to the number 53. His surname is, I don't know if you pronounce it Ponce or Ponce, Ponce, however you pronounce it, sums to 53, like gender, like transgender. And don't think that is any accident. So that contest is coming up, I believe, this coming Monday, December 17th. Another story that emerged in the headlines yesterday, the name of the shooter in France was released, Sharif Chekat, CC 33. C's the third letter. We see these initials used often. They said that he yelled out Allahu Akbar, their favorite thing to report in this ongoing propaganda. Allahu Akbar 74. Allahu Akbar also 34. Remember the date of the two shootings. Brazil, the church. France, the Christian Christmas market. Date with 34 numerology. Like France is 34, like church is 34, like murder's 34. His name, Gematria. The 58 jumps out right away. Freemasonry, secret society. The 68 jumps out. Terror, 68. 112, big number with the Jesuits, who trace their history back to France, where this happened. His name has two connections to 68, the terror number, and that's the ongoing propaganda and programming, these Islamic extremists, these terrorists. This was also pointed out to me yesterday. There's a new Sonic the Hedgehog movie coming out November 8th, 2019. Another date that can be written 11/8. And one of the posters that's previewing it shows the Golden Gate Bridge. And we're interested about the date August 11th, 2019 in regards to San Francisco and the Golden Gate Bridge. So thought that was interesting. This was also pointed out that the Google CEO, he testified about Google's data collection practices. And what the big story out of this came was that a man was dressed up as Mr. Monopoly in the background. This happened December 11th, 2018, a date with 61 numerology, Google 61, and Jewish Gematria, God equals 61. And Google, no doubt, is playing God over the world. So many people, they get all of their information from Google doing web searches. Google is filtering out information, censoring information, putting things at the top of the search that they want people to see. And also collecting all of our data, building this information set, tracking the behaviors of the world, the patterns. They got a monopoly on information, Google does, you could say. And I mean, they really do. They really do. All of my information was all taken down at the snap of a fingers. YouTube's owned by Google and so many other things. I lost what I lose. I forget. 3,000 and some videos. 4 years of nonstop work, just like that. Well, I didn't exactly lose it because I got all of it backed up on hard drive, but I can't upload it to Google. They'll just ban it all again. It's all flagged. So there's probably an even deeper riddle here. But the 61 thing sure jumped out in a big way. So. And then today in history, I couldn't believe this when I saw this. I thought, wow, it's already been that long. I remember the day that the big news was Saddam Hussein was found down in the hole outside of Tikrit, his hometown. That was 15 years ago today. I could not believe it. Today's December 13th, the 347th day of the year, leaving 18 days remaining. I noticed that Saddam Hussein's born April 28th, the 118th day of the year. He was the arch nemesis of George Herbert Walker Bush. The name George Herbert Walker Bush equals 118, not HW. Should have wrote that out all the way. But I'm sure you're aware of that. We've been covering George HW and 118 a whole lot this year. This news, it came 229 days after Saddam's 66th birthday. The reason that's interesting is it was big news for America. 229 is the 50th prime. America equals 50. And when you write out 50 as a word with the alphabetic order, it sums to 66 like empire. I noticed that Saddam Hussein, his name equals 137 using the alphabetic order. The 33rd prime, also 47, the big government number. Both numbers are Mr. Government over there. His full name also has Gematria 303, not unlike 33. And he was caught outside of Tikrit 33. And it was Operation Red Dawn. I still remember this. It was Operation Red Dawn, like the movie, that got Saddam. And you know what else I noticed about that now? I'm better than I used to be. You see the 69? Again, today's the 347th day of the year. That's the 69th prime number. So they get him an Operation Red Dawn, a movie title, on this day. How perfect. What a joke. What a joke. It's all a joke. This day that they got him was also 93 days after the anniversary of September 11th. Remember, that's what this was all connected to. I saw in history that Woodrow Wilson, I'm sure there's a whole lot more to this, but it was 1918 that he became the first U.S. president to travel overseas while being president. Did that on the day leaving 18 days left in the year in 1918. There actually weren't a lot of headlines that really jumped out to me today, but I thought this was interesting. In 1944, during World War II, the light cruiser USS Nashville, which I believe sums to 44. It does. 44, like military. So in 1944, the USS Nashville was badly damaged in a Japanese kamikaze strike off Negros Island in the Philippines that claimed 133 lives. Probably more to that. But what jumped out is this. In 1977, an Air Indiana Flight 216, a DC-3 carrying the University of Evansville basketball team on a flight to Nashville, USS Nashville, crashed shortly after takeoff, killing all 29 people on board. So I thought, Nashville, twice, tragedies, planes. What in the world's going on? Also on this day, Kofi Annan. In 1996, the UN Security Council chose Kofi Annan of Ghana to become the world's body's 7th Secretary General. And remember, he died earlier this year by the numbers. His full name equals 80, Kofi Ada Annan. He was the Nobel Peace Prize winner, 80. He received that award on the day leaving 80 days left in the year, October 12th in 2001. And the day he died was August 18th, 18/8, Bavarian Illuminati, 188 and 80, dead at age 80. Get the overlap with 80 killing, Gematria, English. The date he died, a date was 64 and 44 numerology. Tomorrow, December 14th, we'll have the 64-44 date numerology. Every month, we see these suspicious deaths in connection to this date numerology. So tomorrow, we got the 64-44 connection. Annan, his last name, also has the Gematria 44. Civil rights connects to 64. So, notice his name, Kofi Ada Annan, also 127, like Bavarian Illuminati. Perfect man for the sacrifice on that date at age 80. Well, those were the main things I wanted to cover today. You can go back and watch my videos on the death of Kofi Annan. I had a couple. There's quite a bit of information here. But if anybody wants to phone in, the number is 509-731-0567. Again, 509-731-0567. Well, I'm waiting to see if anybody wants to phone in. I'll come take a peek at the chat. I did. I see that you guys are talking about taxes in the chat. Yep, there it is. I just saw that California is thinking about taxing text messages. Reminds me how they were thinking about taxing email many years ago too. Hello, caller.
Hey, Zach, this is your New York caller.
All right, let me turn up your volume here. Okay, you're good.
That's your New York caller.
Happy to hear your voice, man. What's going on? I know you said last night you got something else for us, so I'm listening.
Yeah, I was going to talk about. Remember, I told you that there was a replica Temple of Solomon built in Sao Paulo, Brazil.
I did. I started to look that up last night. Let me get that up on the screen here.
Before that, I want to mention one little thing. You were just talking about Indiana. there's Indiana's in the news because supposedly they forwarded some school shooting or something.
Right.
And you did the gematria on Indiana, and it's 137.
Right.
Who's the most famous Indiana? It's Indiana Jones.
Sure.
And who played Indiana Jones? It was Harrison Ford.
Right.
So Indiana has gematria of 137. Harrison Ford's birthday is 13th of July, 137.
Huh.
Yeah, just thought I'd throw that in. A little interest in the synchronicity.
Absolutely.
Also, regarding the the Golden Gate Bridge, remember there was this there's a viral picture of the Grim Reaper looming over the Golden Gate Bridge. Remember that?
Of course.
Then also there was the earthquake that hit the Bay Area during the World Series. It was called the Loma Prieta.
Right, that was the fault line.
Yeah. Look at the synchronicity in gematria between Loma Prieta and Grim Reaper.
Okay.
They're both 110, they're both 160, and they're both 61. They got some amazing synchronicity.
Okay, let me put it in here. Loma Prieta and Grim Reaper. And I remember 160 being a big number on the riddle with the day it was posted. Loma Prieta. Whoop. All right, Grim Reaper. Yeah, I see it. 110, 160, 61. And let me look back at that post of the Grim Reaper. It was posted on the day, leaving 160 days left in the year. So yeah, that's what I keep thinking. If they're going to mess with the Golden Gate Bridge, it's going to have to be, I believe, a natural disaster that's not really a natural disaster. So yeah, great observation there. Excellent.
Yeah, so I want to talk about the Temple of Solomon that was built in Sao Paulo. I mean, I've heard about it for a couple of years, for several years, but after the incident of the cathedral shooting in Sao Paulo State, it was in a town close to the Sao Paulo city. I thought, well, it just kind of brought my attention back to this temple. I don't know if that was possibly part of the ritual, but it's interesting that the shooter, he shot himself at the altar, and we were just talking about how they've altars in the news regarding the Temple of Solomon. But the Temple of Solomon in Sao Paulo City, which is in Sao Paulo State, it's 4 times the size of what they say the original Temple of Solomon was. It includes a replica of the Ark of the Covenant and a replica outside of the Garden of Gethsemane.
Huh.
It's built by, the church is called the Universal Church of the Kingdom of God. It's a little wacko church with some weird controversial beliefs. They're not even sure, no one's really exactly sure where they get all their funding. Their funding is only partially accounted for. A lot of it's from their own members, but a lot of their funding is mysterious.
Sure.
When they constructed it, $8 million worth of stone was imported from Jerusalem.
Huh.
So they went all out on this. The church leader is a billionaire pastor. His name is Edir Macedo. Edir Mecedo. Edir Macedo, who also owns the second largest media network in Brazil. And he used his media empire to support a recently undemocratically elected fascist president of Brazil, Jair Bolsonaro. Prototypical New World Order president.
Huh.
Recently, one or more of your listeners and viewers have raised the question as to whether or not gematria applies to Portuguese. I've come across, well, at least one example where it does synchronize with Portuguese and English. In English, Solomon's temple is 58, a huge number in significance to the third temple prophecy. In Portuguese, Solomon's temple the Templo de Salomón, which is 58 also.
Huh.
Yeah.
Very
So
interesting.
Templo de Salomón is also 77. The Universal Church Kingdom of God was established in 1977.
Christ is 77.
Yeah. The church's largest presence in the United States is an international church, but its largest presence in the United States is in Brooklyn, New York. That's significant because the Universal Church uses Jewish symbolism and iconography.
Brooklyn
is one of the largest.
I was gonna say
largest.
Brooklyn, New York equal. I was gonna say Brooklyn, New York's also 223, like how August 11th is the 223rd day of the year.
Yeah, I'll get into that.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah. So, if you compare the gematria of Universal Church and Brooklyn, New York, they're both 223. They're both 74, and they're both 182. Now, 182 is super significant because the church leader, Edil Maceo, was born on 182, 18th February.
Huh.
So how's that for synchronicity?
Very interesting.
So as far as the super significant 58, Solomon's Temple 58, Templo de Salomão 58, that's Solomon's Temple in Portuguese. The church leader's name, Edil Maceo, also equals 58.
Huh.
And I spoke last night on your TFR show about number 511, which is the number for Saturn in Jewish gematria, and its significance to the Golden Gate Bridge and the suicide documentary movie, The Bridge, whose main personality jumps to his death off the Golden Gate Bridge on 5/11, May 11th. I also said how the bridge hosts numerous signs reading, quote, call 511 for traffic control. The Solomon's Temple replica in Brazil was inaugurated on July 31st, 2014. July 31st is an interesting date because it's the anniversary of the death of St. Ignatius of Loyola and the date of the annual observance of the Feast of St. Ignatius. But July 31st, 2014, when the temple was inaugurated, to August 11th, 2019, is 5 years and 11 days.
Huh. That's also a date. It's a date with life lesson number of 45, the big Holy Bible number. And we're talking about 45 with the Golden Gate too, so.
45 is all over this. I mean, I'm just giving my main points, but I've come across a whole bunch of 45s as well.
Sure.
Yep. Yeah, well, that's what I got for today.
Well, great work. As always. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
All right. You have a good one. Take care.
All right.
Well, great work as always from that man. And the riddle just keeps getting juicier with this this third temple, and his observation about the fault line that runs there through San Francisco and how that overlaps with this riddle with the Grim Reaper. That's huge, because I've been thinking if they're going to mess with the Golden Gate Bridge, it's going to have to be probably an earthquake. And remember, Herbert Walker, Mr. 118, the day he died, there was the big earthquake in Alaska, which is where HAARP was first set up, the same year he left office. And we saw the riddles with the epicenter of that quake the day he died and how it shook Anchorage and how all those pieces of the puzzle connected. So these people, you know, they're the riddlers. It's all riddles, hinting at what's coming next. And from the golden or the Grim Reaper above the Golden Gate Bridge to August 11th. Notice it's 1 year and 18 days. It's also 383 days. 383 is the 76th prime. San Francisco is also 76. The word bomb is 76. Again, what all technology are they using to create these natural disasters with a whole bunch of asterisks next to natural? Several decades of underground weapons testing and high atmospheric detonations. What were they doing? Think that's a good show for today, Truth Seeker. There's our man. There's the caller. He needs a wrench. All right. Dave needs a wrench. I think we'll wrap it up here, you guys, unless anybody else wants to phone in with something. Oh, somebody does want to phone in. All right, we got at least one more. Here we go.
Hey, what's good, Zach?
Hey, what's going on, man?
Not much. Before the show wraps up, I just wanted to share a quick number of the beast 666 riddle I saw today on CNN. It was really easy to see because they had a headline that says, with Donald Trump, Trump's former friends flip as he faces a new reality. And right when I saw that, I immediately saw the entire riddle because you see the alliteration, former friends flip. That's the 6 letters. So that's 666.
Huh.
So that's what I saw at first. And then to confirm, that's where the Gematria comes in. The video length and the propaganda is 3 minutes, 11 seconds. And the beast is 311 in Jewish Gematria.
Right.
The beast is also 26 in the English reduction. From June 14th to today, December 13th, is exactly 26 weeks.
Huh.
And also today is December 13th in 2018, a lot like Revelation 13:18. So today's a fitting date for that to come out on. And today's the date with a lifeless number of 36. 666 is the 36 triangular number.
Right. Great work.
Mm-hmm. And here is wisdom equals 69. Today is the 347th day of the year. That's the 69th prime. Here's wisdom. It also equals 66, like the number of the beast. And that Indiana active shooter event, that's coming 6 months, 6 days from Mike Pence's birthday. So I feel like that ties in a lot to this too.
Perfect.
Yeah, so yeah, I just wanted to share that real quick before the show got off. I thought that was a really good example.
It absolutely is. Excellent work, Chigozi.
Thanks, man. Thanks for the show and everything. I look forward to more information.
All right. Keep up the good work yourself. You have a great day.
Thanks. You too, Zach.
All right. Take care,
Bye.
man. It's nice to see all these people applying the code, doing great work. The more eyes, the more people who understand how to use it, the more we catch on to. So, 111 stadiums in North America have food safety issues, Dan says. Funny. Sure, there's a riddle with that, too. Take a peek at that one. Ha! Nightly news with me and Chigozi. Yeah, that would be nice. We'd have to get our man in New York in there too. That's the dream, to get our own news agency going. It could be awesome. But would people listen? I mean, that's what kills me. I mean, presenting this stuff ice cold for 5 years and so many people still don't agree. They think, oh, it's just all a coincidence. So, all right, Truth Seekers, we'll wrap it up for today. We will be back tomorrow, same time. Appreciate all of you. Have a great rest of your day, evening. Till next time.